The map is Moonlight Madness. My race is random, and we are waiting for the replay to load. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. This is... I need a name for this shoutcast. Some sort of... I'll think on that. Get back to you on that. Here I am, spawning in the top right. My opponent's spawning in the top left. It looks like this map is kind of a little more sparse on expansions. You have a natural here, which is blocked by these bricks, but otherwise inaccessible until they're broken. Two sets of bricks actually, and two bases within that area. So we both go for relatively early scouts, and of course Gateway and Barracks Tech. I go with one gas and probably a second gas here, as well as a little light attack on the pylon. Terran versus Protoss. So well, I'm teching. Almost certainly going to throw down a factory right after this, and of course orbital command as soon as my barracks is finished. Get that sweet mule action. This might have been before the patch actually, when mules were auto cast. I'm not sure. And my opponent is... I managed to keep an SCV alive in my opponent's base here, hiding behind the tall grass. My opponent going for at least one expansion. I guess he's searching for my SCV, who's hiding out there. So it's good to keep the SCV alive in your opponent's base as long as possible. See if you can get some insight into what he's doing. If you learn his strategy, it's easier to compete against it. Looks like I'm going for maybe double factory here. You see I've got this add-on, and am I going to fly to it? Yeah. Oh, starport. Okay, here we go. So actually this game was like a couple weeks ago, and I don't really remember what I was doing. Maybe I was going to try a little Liberator play. Liberators don't work very well versus Terran. They're not that great versus Protoss either, because the base unit of the Protoss army, the Stalker, is actually very strong against them because it is so maneuverable. And so I am going Liberator, and Liberator with a little spending my minerals on Marine Hellion. And you'll see I've stopped SCV production, so I am going to try a one base all in, which I think is a decent approach against an early expansion from your opponent. Presumably they're going to have either reduced tech or reduced army. See a little combat, a little adept Hellion combat there. I do believe the Hellion outranges the adept by... Well, adept range is 4, Hellion range is 5. So the Hellion does outrange the adept. You can kite. It's a little difficult because it is a ranged unit, but it's certainly possible. So my opponent going with early adept defense here. I guess maybe he's expecting some sort of Marine push. And in comes the Liberator. Liberator, of course, a new unit from Legacy of the Void, and this is going to be, looks like it's going to be very effective because the adepts cannot attack air. Nothing he has so far can attack air, and there is the Liberator getting two kills and ending my opponent's mining. temporarily. So now as I mentioned, the Goon's pretty good against the Liberator, although I did manage to get my opponent to run, and his Adept is still working on this supply depot, which has been there for quite some time. Two Liberators now, able to cover a lot of ground and make it more difficult for anything to attack the initial Liberator. This defender mode is really awesome, really strong. My opponent is struggling now with and so I'm getting my second expansion. Liberators coming in again. One Liberator is under attack here. The other's coming under fire, taking some damage, but managing to de-siege before anything terrible happens to it. So both Liberators now barely injured. Oh, and one goes down to a pylon, but this Liberator harass just very effective, really disrupting my opponent's income, although that is starting to stabilize a bit as I retreat to presumably to heal, to repair this very weak Liberator. So two port now, just really doubling down on this Liberator tech. And my opponent, sick of it, building some Phoenixes. The Liberator does have air-to-air capability with splash damage, making it a very versatile unit. But the Phoenix, the quote-unquote air superiority fighter, may just be able to fend off this air siege unit, especially if he catches me in defender mode if he catches me in defender mode and gets a few hits in. So 4 Liberator, 5 Liberator, Strike Force coming in, deciding to check out. Oh, discovering the Phoenixes and getting some hits in, doing some damage. 3 badly wounded Phoenix, barely a scratch on the Liberator force, and deciding that discretion is the better part of valor here. My opponent getting a good view of my Liberators with his observers, and the Liberators are going to discover my opponent's second natural, although since they cannot target buildings, they will be impotent to do anything about that base just yet. Looks like a little sneak attack on the main is in the works, and income a utterly futile 2 Hellion mid-game harass. Not sure what I expected to discover there. So 6 Hellion in my opponent's main, laying fields down all over the place. And one thing you've got to do with these Liberators is hit and run. Don't stay in the same place too long. If your opponent knows where you are, he is going to be able to use that. And I mean, not so much here because every area was covered by a circle, but if he knows where you are, he is going to be able to get his troops in position where the Liberator cannot target them and potentially kill 1 or 2. So why does it say? I guess that's aggregate mining. Oh, active forces. I thought it was right. So income very equal, but my opponent has really suffered a lot of harvester losses, and that's from, of course, the Liberator attack. Here, I guess my rally point was misplaced, and I've got these 3 Liberators just chilling, about to be engaged by the Phoenix, and this is not going to end well. Although another nice thing about the Liberator, it is a fairly quick unit, but the Phoenix just demonstrating their awesome air superiority quality and getting a nice needed victory for Protoss, for a Protoss player who's been badly injured by this Liberator play so far. Now, yes, it looks like a Raven switch is in the works. Liberator perhaps not, Massive Liberator not entirely viable mid-game. Also, another starport. And here I've got 3 bases with another 2 on the way. My opponent is trying a little Phoenix harass action. And he's going to be met by a Liberator army. Almost certainly this Liberator force would devastate the Phoenixes were the two to engage, because the Liberator does have splash damage, Liberator missile launchers, and Team Idaho wisely retreats. Yes, the Raven switch is coming online. 4-port Raven. The Raven has been fairly severely nerfed. In particular, the Seeker missile, they'll cost another 50 energy. The point defense drone is very short-lived. Or, not the point defense drone. The auto turret, while it does do a lot more damage, is very short-lived, making it more viable for fighting units and less viable for destroying bases. And we're seeing also a little planetary fortress play, setting up some more heavily defended expos. 5 bases now for Terran, myself, 3 bases only for Protoss, and a 30 supply advantage, and a massive harvester count, a massive income. But will I be able to succeed on Liberators and Ravens alone? My opponent has amassed a land army here, a lot of adepts and stalkers, and it looks like he is going to try to take on this forward expansion here, although it's very questionable how much damage this army could do with the Raven Liberator Defense Force here. So Ravens taking some damage from the Phoenix, and a really nice touch with the carriers here. Probably the carrier is a very nice counter against Liberator's air-to-air weak splash weapon. And still only on 3 bases here, so significant worker count, and some hallucinated Phoenixes here, and in come the Seeker missiles. The Liberators just all over the place here with their defender mode, really laying waste to this ground army. And now a 70 supply, 60 supply advantage for Terran. Although the Zealots have managed to find their way into this orbital command expo, and my oh my, are they just taking out SCVs left, right, and center. This 6 base now under attack, being long distance mined, and the Ravens not really able to do a lot of damage, but just a quick glimpse at the Liberators, and my opponent is running. So this tiny little force here has managed to do a lot of damage to the workers, bringing us down to 7151 harvester supply count. and slowing down this expo, almost destroying this command center, but not completely able to eradicate that base. So still, my opponent still just on 3 bases. Supply equivocating here, getting more equal, and 8K unspent resources for the Terran. Really need to throw down some sort of mass barracks, some sort of method of handling that. But phenomenal income still, 1,500/700, and much more once this base gets online. Once this base gets back online, so looks like another attack is imminent here, as Protoss checks out this base, finds it empty, so maybe not. And a single Marine somehow made it over here. Not really sure what happened there. Guess he was scouting. So, top left now under assault. Will the planetary fortress be able to stand? Will the Liberator Army handle these? And that surely has to be it for the force, as the roaches or the Ravens are throwing down missile turrets as the planetary fortress is doing its part, and Terran again with a 46 supply advantage. Looks like Tullus now switching straight to air. Some Archons as well. Double port carrier. 4th base coming online. Terran getting this 6th base fully online. Still yet to recover this extra base here. Not too many workers that can be transferred, except this base is heavily oversaturated at the top left. 12K unspent now for Terran. Effectively maxed. Upgrades very crucial at this point, but none on the Terran ship plating. And here we have a nice air-air battle with mass Ravens. It looks like, yes, the Protoss may have used the nifty release interceptors ability, which enables the carrier fleet to release their interceptors and have them fighting for 43 seconds in one area. Very nice harass, hit and run technique to just drop all your interceptors, retreat, rebuild them, and continue attacking. So, resource-wise, 13K unspent. Protoss with a healthy or unhealthy surplus here. Not too uncommon in these large-scale macro games amongst non-professional players to see these sort of accumulations, and really at this point for Terran, maxed as I am, it's more about really producing the most effective army force, and in a sense, this massive harvester count can kind of work against you, because it is going to leave you with a weaker army. However, the larger supply of resources usually balances that out. The real question is, how effective are these Ravens? And the answer is not very. The high cost of Seeker missiles can really render them less effective than was the case in Heart of the Swarm. And my opponent just really devastating my air army here, taking only very minimal damage from the Seeker missiles. Probably battle cruiser would have been better, perhaps mass M&M, Thors maybe would have been an idea. Really, really not viable, the Ravens, at this stage. So my opponent's army on the march here, and we've got the carrier fleet, some turrets, which will slow down the carrier somewhat. Seeker missiles claiming a few hits, and the new auto turret quite powerful in short bursts. A little defender play here from the Liberators, but the managed to fend off that threat. A few stray stalkers doing damage to buildings. All in all, a fairly unsuccessful attack, but the carriers are able to take out the turrets and might be able to survive here. In come the Phoenix, and really these Liberators not doing a great deal of damage as they're ripped apart by the Phoenix. Really, now Protoss finally with a control advantage, and again the released Infoceptor is doing some damage there. 20k unspent by Terran, so really need to throw down like 30 barracks or something. You know, the limit's going to be on the gas. Maybe multiple command centers, more turrets would have been a good idea here. My opponent, 11 supply advantage. Very nice, seemingly indestructible carrier army, upgraded attack on the carriers. Grabbing another base now. Mined out at those two healthy mineral bases. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 live, 6 live gas. One of those is soon to be live here. 6 live gas, which is really the question at this stage because, of course, with the 20k minerals accrued, I'm not really in need of new minerals, but the carrier fleet releasing the Infoceptor is going to utterly devastate that expansion down to 5 live gas. Still tremendous income here, and of course amazing saved minerals, but really weak on the supply count given the amount of resources. And switching back to Liberator, no. Doing the same Liberator Raven mix, which is frankly untenable. Really need some sort of alternate late game strategy here. Well, the Liberator was fairly effective in the early game against my opponent. Simply not really that viable against this air composition. My opponent now churning Void Rays from four Stargates, and decent income, fully maxed here, and huge upgrade advantage with only single plating, and the mass toss air army on the march. Seems to really enjoy hitting this particular area. Likely we're going to see some release Infoceptor play here. And there they are. The missile turrets doing a decent job of slowing my opponent down. And the carriers targeted now by Seeker missiles. And down go the Protoss support fleet. The Ravens also taking serious damage from these released Infoceptors. The SUVs desperately trying to heal the wounded Terran base, and these auto turrets finally taking out the interceptors. So my opponent still with a 50 supply advantage, and excellent army composition, excellent efficiency. Setting up a new base here. Down at the bottom right, I've lifted my main orbital command to try to take this base here. Carriers taking this side base, and missile turrets springing up all over the place. Liberators now engaging, and one or two seeker missiles, but unable to get them off, and absolutely devastating damage here to the Ravens. Such a tremendous loss of gas. Really, really spelling trouble for the Terran forces. As my opponent's still maxed, my army completely wiped out, and really, really just not looking good for Terran. Really need to spend this 19,000 somehow. Turrets coming up at the contested expo here. Could use more turret mass in this area, essentially costing me nothing. A second planetary fortress at this hugely oversaturated base, and in comes a Stalker Archon army. Liberators and Ravens falling, and the base is destroyed.